This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and once again, I'm joined by trainer Tony Sims. Tony, another successful night's work for yourself, a brilliant performance from Felix Cash, third round stoppage victory. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to Felix. Just reflect on the fight for me.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, obviously it was, it was a British Commonwealth title fight, and there's a lot of talk about them both being unbeaten going into the fight. And obviously the middleweight division's been, in the past, there've been a lot of good, big domestic fights. And, but I always felt Felix was always going to have too much with Denzel Bentley. I said it all along, all the way through. And I know what Felix Cash is all about. He's a ruthless fighter. He can punch with either hand. He can box. He's very smart, very quick. And he's got a lot of experience as well, being on the GB team, for 3 years. He's boxed all around the world. I just always knew that the fight would be over. Do you know what I mean? I thought he'd get to sort of the middle rounds, but I always believed that Felix would get the fight over and done with early doors.
Just from listening to you now, Tony, are you surprised then that so many people did before the fight see it as such a close fight?
Yeah, I was a little bit. You know what? In boxing, I know you never can tell in boxing. Obviously Denzel Bentley can punch, so there's always chances that that he had a puncher's chance of getting Felix out of there. But aside from that, yeah, I was very surprised when people was fancying him to beat Felix, and I always fancied Felix big in a fight. I mean, we had the choice of fighting for the European title. He had that choice against a 40-year-old Italian, basically, Signani. He had that choice of choosing that. But, he felt like he wanted to win the British title, and I wanted him to win the British title. And if I thought it was just such a massive risk, I wouldn't have doubled backed and took the fight. I always believed that Felix would get Denzel out there in good fashion, but I thought obviously it'd go a few more rounds than that. And listen, Denzel Bentley is a decent domestic fighter. He can come again. He's a puncher. He's just got a lot more to learn in the pro game, I believe. I still think he's inexperienced, and he's only 25 years of age, so he can come again. And because that sort of stoppage he had there on his feet ain't like a bad beating, but I felt like he was sort of outclassed from the first bell. Really, he got called straight away. And sort of Felix just walked him down and did what he liked with him, really.
I mean, Tony, just to kind of go through those 3 rounds and for as long as the fight lasted, how would you assess it now? Because I remember a lot of people just saying in that first round when Felix caught Denzel, you could see he hurt him. And then I saw in a post-fight interview, Felix was saying you was telling him not to kind of load up as much in his punches because the shot was eventually going to come for him.
Yeah, I just felt that he always had it in him to, connect with him, and then, sooner or later he'd just break him down and then get on top of him and, use his experience, just being a bit more calm. I didn't want him just wading in, winging him everywhere, because as I said, then Denzel can punch, and there's always a chance when you're winging away with your head up in the air, trying to get things over and done with quickly, that there's a chance that you can get caught yourself. So I didn't want him just to be throwing him anywhere. I wanted him to connect properly and be calm with the connection. And when he does connect properly, then be calm with the next 2 or 3 going in on him, like one shot at a time. And, that's what he done in the third round. He connected with a nice right hand, and then he just took his time with the next one. Then the next one, just made sure that in the next 3 or 4 right hands connected clean with him. And, that's the way, I wanted him to do the fight, is if he does connect, be calm with the next connections.
How important of a statement was that from Felix last night, and not just put his beyond domestic level now with a performance like that, but to effectively put that European scene and above on alert?
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a little bit in the shadows, Felix, in my gym. He's been a little bit I've always known what his makeup was, but when he come to me, he was a bit of as I can put it, like a wild Mustang. He was a bit wild. He was a bit he was a bit like a Kevin Mitchell, to be honest, when he first come to me. I weren't sure about him. Like, you know, he'd go off the rails every now and then. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I had to sit down with him at one time with his dad and have a proper good talk with him, and said to him, like, listen, you've got all the ability to go all the way here, because look, how long have I been training fighters? How many fighters have I seen come through my door? I knew that from day one he had a lot of ability. It's just like, you know, getting the wild Mustang into a racehorse, really, and be able to saddle him up and be able to race him. And, you know, and that's what I've managed to do. And that's part of a trainer's job as well. He's not just to walk in the gym every day and coach them on the bag and coach them on the pads. Is to mentally get into their minds, to get to know the individual and how to work with them. You know, I've worked with troubled fighters before, as I said, like Kevin Mitchell, and I ended up getting him on the right path and to the world title shot with Jorge Linares. So I know all about, you know, how to steer these kids the right way. And, you know, Felix, since that chat, you know, sit down and I had a proper good talk to him, because I said, listen, if you don't sort this out, I'm not going to work with you. As simple as that, you know. And to be fair with him, you know, the last couple of years, he's really pulled himself together, and he's like becoming, you know, like the others are, you know, in my gym, ultimate professionals. They've all got different ways about them, different individual, different problems, but he's become the ultimate professional. You know, he stays down in Brentwood. He rents a cottage next to the gym. And, you know, he stays down there for like 6 weeks at a time. You know, he eats all the right food. He trains with Dan Lawrence, his S&C coach. He does everything correctly, you know. And I think when you do everything correctly and you have got the ability of Felix Cash, he's got the ability, the speed, the skill set, the punch power. And now he's got his life on track, like with his training, with his eating, with his S&C workouts. He's a really, really good pro, really easy to work with now. And, you know, then you reap the dividends of it. And, you know, he's British and Commonwealth champion, you know, looking at a European title fight, looking to enter into the world scene. You know, who's to say that he won't go on to win a world title, that kid? You know, he's got everything in his armory to go and win a world title.
Tony, listening to you talk there about kind of the advice and the guidance you've given to Felix. I know you've done the same with other fighters in the past, as you mentioned, Kevin Mitchell. Whenever I speak to anybody you train, they all speak so highly of you, and they all seem to have just a brilliant personal relationship with you beyond just a trainer and a fighter kind of commitment. Why do you think it is that you've been able to kind of gel so well with, especially this current crop of fighters? You know, Ted Cheeseman spoken openly about his troubles in the past as well. I know how you've previously spoken to him about it.
You know what it is? Because I like to get a close bond with my fighters, but the reason I like to do that is as I was saying before, is because I like to mentally get inside their mind. Because if I can get mentally inside a fighter's mind, and that they believe so much in what I'm telling them, then they can walk through walls for you. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I believe that they'll do for me. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I'm mentally getting right inside there. You know, make them have no fear about going into the ring. Make them believe in their ability. You know, don't get me wrong. I work them hard. I work them really hard. You know, and some days they say, "Oh, I don't know. You know, I don't know if I can keep doing these workouts like this. It's killing me." But mentally, that's only the mental side of that telling you, not the physical side of it. You know, so mentally, I'll get into their head. You know, I'll make them work hard. So when they're walking into the ring on the night of the fight, they believe that everything I've done for them, you know what I mean? And I do a lot for them. They believe that all the training that I've done for them, you know, everything that mentally I've got inside their head, that they can walk through walls. And that's the way they believe, do you know what I mean? They believe that they can win every fight because of the condition they're in, because of their mental state. And, you know, and that's the way I like to work, because you've got to realise this is like my 25th year as a professional trainer. I've got a lot of experience, you know. I took Darren Barker out to win a world title in America. Not a lot of people have done that before. Took it off the champion over there. I took Ricky Burns to his third weight world title. And I've worked with Anthony Joshua when he won the IBF world title. You know, I worked with John Ryder, went to America with him, won the world interim title over there in a great performance. So I've got a lot of experience in my armory to know what I'm doing in this game. And it's just like doing any game, really. If you're doing it for a long time, you gain that experience of learning how to work with individual people, you know. And as I said earlier, everyone's individual. Like Felix Cash is an individual person. He's a different person to Ted Cheeseman. Ted Cheeseman is a different person than Conor Benn. And they all need individual requirements, you know, and individual speaking to. Even the way you speak to them, I speak to them differently because I know what makes them tick. I don't speak to one exactly the same as the other one, because you've got to know the way they tick. And that's why I build a close bond with them from day one. And once I've done that, then it's like a father telling you what to do. You know, you don't disrespect your father. You do what you're told from your father, or you should do anyway. And that's the way I like to work. And if I can't get that connection, and if I can't get that through to the fighter, then I'll tell them outright that I can't work with them. Do you know what I mean? And some people say, oh, I know what some people say, oh, he's ruthless, he gets rid of them. Do you know what I mean? But it ain't because of that. It's because I can't get the connection with them mentally. If I can't do that, then I can't work with them.
Tony, this run of wins over the past month or so, it's certainly it's drawn a lot of kind of credit towards yourself. Is this current run as good a run as what any period during your time as a trainer you've had?
Oh, I've had a lot of good runs in boxing before. Do you know what I mean? So boxing is a sport of up and downs. You know, you can be coming up, and then you know you lose a few, you go down, and then you come back up and you go back down again. Because look, with boxing, it's either winning or losing, and you can't. It's impossible to win every single fight. Do you know what I mean? I know Floyd Mayweather done it, but there would have been a time if he'd have kept going that he would eventually have got beat. And that's what boxing is. It's the longer you go on in the sport, the more chances you're going to get beat. And, you know, and that's why it's an up and down sport. So 1 minute you can be riding the crest of the wave, and the next minute you can be not, you know, you can be down on the bottom of the ocean. So, you know, I've been there at the bottom of the ocean, and I've rode the crest of the wave. So I know what it's all about. You know, the current crop of fighters that I've got at the minute, is not an overnight. It's not an overnight thing. You got to realise I've been working with these kids towards their goals for a long time. You know, Conor Benn's been with me 5 years. Felix Cash has been with me 4 years. Ted Cheeseman 5 years. You know, Joe Cordina since the last Olympics. So he's took a lot of time and effort to get these boys to where they're going. You know, and I've got like Martin J. Ward fighting for final eliminator on the 29th of May now. I mean, he's been with me for 9 years, I think he's been with me for. You know, John Ryder's fighting for the WBA regular title. He's been with me for about 10 years. So they've all been with me a long time. It's a lot of work and effort to get into these positions. But, you know, I understand that people will look at me and say, oh, you're riding the crest of the wave at the minute, just all of a sudden. But it's a long, long, long struggle to get to where we are now. Do you know what I mean? And my main end of the road is to get them all world title shots. Whether they all lift them world titles or not is another thing. But my main object is to get them all into world title positions, you know. And every single one of my fighters I've got now, out the 6 of them, are all capable of getting onto that stage, and they're all getting closer and closer now, you know.
Tony, I know you're not one to kind of look into it too much, but you have received a lot of credit, especially recently over social media, for this run of wins. You know, what do you make of it? Having so many people kind of showing their appreciation for the work that you've been doing, and especially with this run, like I say.
Yeah, it's nice for people to recognise you in any work you do. You know, if people recognise that you're doing a good job, you know, and they take time to say that, as you say, on social media, it's nice. But to me, it's just like, I'll just think of like what I'm doing tomorrow now. You know what I mean? Going back in the gym tomorrow, working the game plan out for Martin Ward. It's just an everyday job for me. Every day I walk in at the gym, and it's just an everyday job. That's all I think about doing. I don't think about anything else other than that, really. So that's nice, that side of it, to be recognised. But, you know, if I'm recognised or I ain't recognised, it won't change my day tomorrow.
It's only just to kind of loop it back to Felix, just kind of what's next. We spoke before the fight, and you said you didn't want to discuss what would be next until Denzel Bentley was out of the way. is out of the way now. So what do you see being next? I know that the European title bout has been spoken about again. Felix mentioned Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams after the fight. Do you think one of those guys in either Eubank Jr. or Liam Williams would be the good step up next for Felix?
Listen, it's like I always say, if the money's there, then and it's a big fight, and the British public want to see it, and then we're available to take the fight. But my next steps to do for Felix, which I would like to do, is put him onto the European title next. If I can't get the European title shot for him, then I'll sit down with Eddie and we'll try and do something else to get him in, get him further up into the world ranking. I think he's ranked number 14th with the WBO at the minute. That's the only rankings he's in. So, well, I think Denzel was number 8 and Felix was number 14. So no doubtly he'll jump into the top 8 of there. And then maybe if we can't get the European title fight, and maybe we'll push on with that side of it. Do you know what I mean? But obviously Felix has got a lot of options. He's made a name for himself now because the thing what Felix has done there, which I thought was good, is that he's gone on to a rival promoter show. He's boxed the rival promoter's unbeaten fighter, and he's made a bit of a name for himself because he didn't have to do that. He had a choice. He didn't have to do that. He could have stayed on a matchroom show and fought for the European title, which is, by the way, a big title. And probably when you look at either opponent, Sigani being 40 years old, European champion, might have been the easier fight for Felix, really. But, he pushed that aside and took a British title fight, a hard, as people say, a hard British title fight on a rival promoter show, so he's got to take a lot of credit for that and a lot of respect for what he's done there. And I think people have stood up and thought, wow, it's not everybody in boxing. So a lot of fighters and managers and promoters in boxing obviously like to guide their fighters the right way, but a lot of them avoid fights like that. Do you know what I mean? They like to just stay on their own promotions and do their own thing. Do you know what I mean? So you got to give Felix a lot of credit for what he done there.
Right, Tony, I will leave you be now and leave you to enjoy what is left of your Sunday because I know you're going to have a busy week ahead again, getting Martin Ward ready. So I appreciate your time. I will catch up with you again soon, and especially before, obviously, you fly out with Martin. Thank you for your time, mate, and thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that, mate.